I've got a pet peeve, by the way. I just came up with this. The new. I don't like when people got an accent that's not from that place and they kind of shut up about how much that place sucks. Like in that Halifax 5 video where there's a guy with an African accent and he's saying, you take down the Dominion flag. That is a flag of genocide. You cannot have this flag in here. You must take away the flag. Like, you just arrived here, dude. I couldn't imagine going to Japan and with my Japanese that I don't even speak, saying, like preaching to people. Anyway, this gentleman is from a band called Young Fathers. His name might be Young Fathers. I don't know how the kids are doing it these days. But his Scottish accent is not very Scottish, so maybe he's lived there for, I don't know, not his entire life, it sounds like. But he's gone to the Scottish National Portrait Gallery, one of the most sacred places in all of Scotland, where it's turgid with history. It has a history boner. And he's gone in there just to crap on it with no actual research or anything, just like, screw this place. It makes me feel weird. Well, I'm sorry, but Scotland is as white as Japan was Japanese. It only had immigrants very recently. Not a lot of people want to go there. The weather's not great. So I'm sorry if at the National Portrait Gallery, you've noticed that a lot of these ancient historical figures from hundreds and hundreds of years ago tend not to look like Rastafarians. Like, what kind of beef is that? Anyway, let's play it. I'm glad I'm in a good mood because the first time I saw this, it made me real mad. I haven't watched it in a while. Dramatic. By the way, just one other thing. The Scots have a fanatical obsession with underdogs. So you go to a Celtics football match, soccer match, and there's huge Palestinian flags. Not really because they have a problem with Israel or even that they support Palestine. They just know that that's the underdog, so they're the underdog. So if you're a visible minority in Glasgow, people, like I brought a black guy to Glasgow once, and he was almost raped like a la the Beatles. Like, we almost had to run from chicks because they were going to devour him. That's the Scottish mentality in a nutshell, and that's probably why they all went, that's a great idea, young feathers. You should come by the National Portrait Gallery and just talk about how shite it is because of all these stupid white people everywhere. It should look like a Black Uhuru album cover there. It should just be all guys with huge dreadlocks. That's what the Scottish Portrait Gallery should be. More Jamaican-looking guys. All right, go ahead. I don't hear any audio. Oh, it's a nice stoic intro, by the way. All right, so I don't know how you got into the museum late at night. Isn't that trespassing? By the way, if you go to a museum after hours alone and rail against the paintings, you're insane.
Gold, edged and decorated. A coat framed with gold surrounding white skin wrapped around your body, fat and muscles and bones like a magic cloak.
Just stop. Yeah, that's what a painting is in a museum, dude. They are. Paintings of humans are skin wrapped around bone. And yeah, they tend not to frame them with lucite or denim. They tend to have a nice sort of gilded frame. That's the way you tell humans that this is a fancy painting. You know, the kind that would be at the Portrait Museum, maybe? Not really adding to the concept here.
The signs of power.
Yes, signs of power.
The signs of wealth. Insignia, details that seem small and inconsequential, but they are proof of status.
Just pause. This is what pisses me off. Let me tell you something, okay? Like, my wife has this picture of her American Indian ancestors, and it's like 4 generations ago. I don't know how long ago, but it looks like the early 1800s. And one of them's kind of wearing a suit-ish type of thing. The other she's not as assimilated looking. The fact that they have that photograph taken means they must have been pretty fancy because getting your photo taken back then was a big deal. So if you see a painting of an old-timey guy, he's not going to be a pauper. They didn't do paintings of the guy who shined your shoes. I'm sorry. I'm choking on my own saliva here. How can you not know that? Like, they're not Polaroids, dude. Yes, at the Scottish National Portrait Museum, the people are going to be erudite men of consequence. That's history. That's the way it worked. Do you want a woman doing the laundry? They don't have paintings of that from 1502. Go ahead.
Your status. White. Powerful.
Yeah, you're in Japan.
Rich.
There's Japanese people there.
This
What's he
picture
surprised?
confirms you were a man, that you existed.
Listen to the
You found
disdain
me
in his
before
voice.
fruit burst from the tree, and here's the proof.
Wait, pause.
Does this
I gotta take it off and show my blouse. Does he have his hat off? Yeah, I think he does. Thank God, it was boiling in this thing. I don't know how you millennials wear those wool hats. The things are like putting a microwave on your head. Jesus, I feel like I lost brain cells. All right, go ahead.
mean I don't exist? That I'm not a man?
Wait, pause. Can you imagine going to a Japanese portrait museum after you moved to Japan and going, are you saying I don't exist? Are you saying I'm less of a man? I see you geisha girls with your makeup and all, and I see you bloody samurais with your swords, and see yon wee emperors. Are you saying I'm a nobody?
Because I don't see a face like mine framed in gold hanging on the wall.
You're a black guy in Scotland!
Have you taken all the space? Sucked
Yeah.
out all the air, swallowed all the wine, taken the goodness from the earth, sweated the energy from my family's living essence.
Wait a minute, pause. Are you implying, sir, that the Scottish aristocracy got rich off slavery? The way I recall it was the tobacco industry, potatoes were big, shipbuilding was massive in Scotland's history. I don't think you know of history, my friend. Scotland is not known for their rampant exploitation of the black man. You might have an argument that they contributed to the opium wars in China by supplying iron ships that would try to fight the state when the state tried to outlaw opium. British ships, Scottish ships, and the Brits pushed back on that. Maybe a Chinese guy might have an argument for like one painting. But what the hell? How are these aristocrats his problem?
In order that you can live forever, etched in gold. Where's the universal balance? Am I meant to admire the brushwork and the colors and the historical context without considering how you came to be here?
And
the people who
without asking how you came to be here. So again, the implication is what he's doing is he's borrowing black American identity politics and saying, I'm no going to this museum and looking at you people who got rich off of my bones. You got the wrong country, brah. All right, go ahead.
who look like me aren't. Am I meant to just accept this? Am I meant to just accept that this is how things work out?
Yes!
Ignore the past that has survived despite attempts to gold edge it from existence.
It's a good fighter, by the way, you can tell.
I am
Look at
here
that. Just pause
to-
it here. This is eerie. We have the exact same body. This is like, oh, sorry, I'm in the way. I'm like looking in a black mirror. This is that famous show, Black Mirror. It's like he's my black twin. Has my mother been untowards? Why am I seeing my exact body but chocolate? This is disturbing. Look at that. Mirror image. All right, go ahead.
You now that you are dead.
Yeah.
Dead, random, white dude.
Okay, pause. This is the part that pisses me off. And that's also, by the way, stealing black identity politics because they talk about dead presidents and they often talk about like the money is dead presidents. It's also a rap band. But they also say, I hate history, American history. It's a bunch of dead white dudes. Well, yeah, our history's not with vampires. So I'm sorry that people passed away at the ripe old age of 55. Of course, people in history are dead. That's one of the craziest criticisms I've ever heard in my life, that you're mad that we don't have more vampires and zombies in our history books. But this inconsequential part pissed me off. The Scottish National Portrait Museum, you might be able to find some people you dislike, but there are some of the most important people, not just in Scotland's history, but in Western history. It was the Scots who invented the modern world. It was the Scots who at Glasgow University first decided, let's separate church and state and create a free-thinking society. It was a Scot who not invented the steam engine, but put it on its side and enabled you to build factories, to do mass production. The Scots are responsible for the Industrial Revolution. And if you look at history, it seems like everything happened from 1800 to 1900. In other words, the Industrial Revolution facilitated the modern world. Even those opium wars I was talking about. The reason Britain had the money to go down there was not your slavery, but it was the mechanization of the Industrial Revolution, the steam engine on its side. That's from Lead House, by the way, that guy. But the kind of people that are at the National Portrait Gallery include, Sir Walter Scott. Sir Walter Scott, by the way, and it's particularly ironic that he's demeaning him. Sir Walter Scott is the guy who came up with the concept of, I'm going to write a novel, but it'll be true. So it'll be a romantic tale with love interests and an uppy-downy part and an A plot and a B plot and a conclusion, but it'll be based on an actual figure and I'll use actual events. I may have to twist a few like they did in Braveheart, but that skill, that concept enabled billions more people to read history. It brought history down to the common man, the near illiterate man, where all of a sudden he could enjoy. And we still see this today. How many movies today do we see that are based on true events? That's Sir Walter Scott. You know what? Give the guy a painting in the Scottish Museum. Throw him a bone. Okay? Yeah, you can put gold around the edge. That's okay. I don't care if it makes black guys feel bad that he's in a nice painting. He's a pretty major figure. Let's look back, by the way, at your work when you're done your life's work, young fathers, and see if it can hold a candle to Sir Walter Scott. And by the way, if it does, by all means, get the hell in the Scottish National Portrait Gallery. I'd love to see you in there. But history judges people, and history has judged these people quite well. Or look at this painting of Sir Winston Churchill. I'm not a Churchill fan. I think he screwed up by getting into World War II. I think he had an axe to grind because he was a rich kid, and he always wanted to show his father, his soldier family, that he could be as great as his ancestors. So he had a chip on his shoulder, but he's a man of consequence. Despite the negative things you could say about him, he deserves to be in a museum. Ever heard of Churchill? Pretty big deal. And by the way, we just had 2 Sir Walter Scotty movies about him, right? What were they called again? There was, my mind's gone blank. Dunkirk, and what was the other one? 30 Days or something like that. Anyway, so that's kind of a double whammy there, Sir Walter Scott and Sir Winston Churchill being in there. So yes, relevant, not just stupid, did white men, by the way.
What's so special about you?
What's so special about Churchill?
I am here against the wall, framed in gold, smiling in my privilege.
Why does Churchill get a gold frame?
The privilege of being alive.
That's all he did.
While you are now framed in dust. The signs of wealth, the insignia of status, they are a gravestone that a dog pisses against shifting, cracking clay.
Wait. Now dogs have to piss on these paintings? What? Not only do you break into the museum and punch them with your clothes off, but now we got to bring in a wee dog to take a piss? This is a load of piss. And the whole concept of what have you ever done, it's so arrogant, isn't it? It's bizarre. Go ahead.
They are a long line of inbred spawns soon to die out themselves.
What? Okay, stop. Yes, there was some inbreeding in the English aristocracy. I don't know what percentage of these people suffered inbreeding. I'm guessing a minute fraction. The Scottish aristocracy bred with France and all other kinds of other people to form allegiances against the English. And by the by, the Scots fought the English for, 700 years, and the English ripped them to shreds again and again. You want to talk about bounties? Like there was that guy in Halifax, speaking of the Halifax Five, who had bounties on Indian heads. Yeah, he came from the English wars with Scotland, where he had bounties on kilts. Bring me a dead Scotsman and you got some money. You'll notice we don't have protests about that, by the way. We just go, see you bastard. I'll get you one day and I'll rise again. Oh, flower of Scotland, when will we see your likes again? Sorry, I'm getting carried away. All right, let's go back to this guy literally suggesting we dog piss on paintings.
But I am here.
My body.
My very existence, my closeness to your face, my breath, all offends thee.
Wait, did he just say,
or it would if
my breath all offends thee? You know what the Scottish aristocracy take on black men was? Who are they? What's a black man? You're going back hundreds and hundreds of years when they're fighting the English, and you're saying, you hate that I'm here. And then they go, I had no idea you exist, let alone show up in Glasgow, by the way. So you're talking to a dead white man that you just said was irrelevant, and now his breath offends you. Ugh.
You breathed yourself, but you can't. Your posterity is a cartoon.
Is he strangling them?
Evidence of a vain stupidity, whilst my own monument is the living, pulsing one that is here, next to you, in your hallowed space, every thought an encryption. I am here, now.
Pause. It's interesting that when competing with consequential historical figures, the only one-upmanship you have is that I'm actually alive. So people go, Churchill was an incredible man, you know, and I go, oh yeah? Well, he's dead and I'm here. Is he so consequential now? Yeah. I mean, no offense, CRTV's cool and everything, but it's no World War II and the Boer War. He's a little more consequential than you, Gav, and the fact that you're still alive is not really blowing any minds. That's not really, hey, look at me, Mr. Living over here. Breathing up a storm, heart's pounding, not like Winston Churchill. And that's not the only, like, Robbie Burns is in there. Robert Burns. We say the Selkirk Grace at my house every dinner time. There's those have meat that can't eat. And no, some have meat that can't eat. And some have meat that, and some have meat that, no, some can't eat that want it. Fuck, I'm forgetting my own grace. But we have meat and we can eat and see the Lord be thanked. And he was a very consequential Scottish poet because he brought working class culture to poetry and the fancy pants. So he had the beautiful poem about a mouse, a wee tiniest beast or something. He also had a great song that should inspire us all, a poem called A Man is a Man and all that. Anyway, I'm not going to recite all this poetry here, but we have Robbie Burns Night, a huge evening all over the world, by the way. Scots all over the world celebrate the Burns Supper every year. This is how many years after he died? So in that sense, he's still living more than you, young fathers. Or there's some modern stuff there too, by the way. It's not all of these inbred royalty who don't deserve, who got rich off of slavery, by the way. There's one of my favorite paintings at the gallery is Three Oncologists by Ken Curry. Ken Curry's still alive. I think he's like 67 now. He does these really haunting paintings. There it is. That's Three Oncologists. And it's just sort of, first of all, these guys are oncologists. So that's pretty consequential, dudes. Pretty impressive. You're fighting hard to cure cancer. I'm impressed. But it also captures the sort of ghostly fear we all have of that disease that kills basically everyone. That's in the museum. Is that irrelevant, young fathers? Is that a stupid dead white man? Is that a bunch of inbred, gold-gilded losers? Should we be ignoring their accomplishments? Like, who looks at an oncologist who's a ghost and goes, in your face, I'm alive with you, you bony oncologist with your skin wrapped around your head? It's more immigrants, basically.
But I can feel the gravity of mortality pulling
Never
me down.
do a right hook. Leave
Ghost breath stuffing my lungs, the endless gazes of dead, random, white dudes.
What's with the hatred?
You can't frame me.
Well, we will if you accomplish something. You could be in there,
despite
dude.
Despite
Become an oncologist. Just stop.
I see you.
Did you hear that little thing snuck in super surreptitiously? Despite you, comma, to spite you. This is what pisses me off about this whole video is the hate. The left always talks, especially the British left, but hope, not hate. We need to abolish hate. This guy goes in to the people who founded the country that he's in and has so much spite and hatred and a total lack of gratitude for something that has nothing to do with him. I mean, the slavery argument is, again, a black American argument. So what's with the vitriol? When you go in, like, who goes into a museum and sees people that don't look like him because the person has a different ancestral history and just goes, look at all these people. That's the most curious thing about this video is the animosity. All right, I think we're almost done.
I see you.
Yeah, that's the point of a gallery.
And I'm gone.
Good, leave. I don't know how you got in here anyway. The door's locked. Ugh, see these people. I've got to tell you, they really get my goat. You know, I'm pissed off the new and it's going to last for a wee while. See yous, if you're going to go to the Scottish National Portrait Gallery, at least show some bloody reverence and enjoy yourself.